And I would say to all of you grads, feel very positive and fortunate that you found your way to Schoolcraft College. It's a very special place. As a result of my experience, that's what caused me on to go to eventually get a doctorate. And I also decided that I'd like to at some point work in the field of human development. So that comes to the third moment that impacted my life. I was working in leadership development for several organizations. And I was involved in a very intense leadership training program. It ran an entire week, day and night. And at the end of each week, the participants would come up and to a person, they'd talk about what a profound experience it had been. But then something happened that puzzled me. Because I'd ask them, well, what are you going to do now as a result of your experience? And a surprising number of them said, well, I don't know that I can do very much. And I said, why? And they said, well, because my boss is a tyrant, or the organization doesn't care, or I just haven't been given the authority to be able to do it, make any changes. They had all these reasons outside of themselves why nothing could be different, why they couldn't change. And it dawned on me, at that moment, it dawned on me, they were just like me. They had created the same limitations around their lives that I had created around mine. And so, it caused me to really think about our mindsets and the thoughts that go through us. And what I realized, because with that group that couldn't do anything, there was also another group of people who, when asked what they do, would say, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And they had the same bosses, they worked in the same organizations. And I saw at that point that the way we view ourselves and the world makes all the difference in moving our lives forward. The thoughts that are running through our lives can either steer us in a positive direction or they can sabotage us. And at that point, I decided I wanted to really begin doing much more work in the field of human potential, which I've been doing ever since that time. So now let me bring it home and share some insights with you. First of all of us have a set of mindsets or core beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about people in general, about work, education, the opposite sex. And these core beliefs or mindsets have come about as a result of the messages we've gotten throughout our lives, from our parents, from teachers, from other kids, and incidents that occurred for us. And we have constant self-talk going on as a result of these beliefs we hold. And so when I came up here today, you thought some things based on me reminding you of somebody. In some cases it was positive, in some cases it was negative. To the extent those thoughts were positive, they're tending to move our lives forward in a positive direction. But on the other hand, that stream of thoughts can represent a life filled with cynicism, where we're focused on the negative things people have said to us throughout our lives, focused on incidents that really upset us, or just focused on our weaknesses or limitations, or what we see as the weaknesses and limitations in others. A few years back, I coined the term negathoughts. Negathoughts are thoughts that tend to disable us because they're phrased negatively, we believe them absolutely, and they don't give us a lot of incentive to change them. When it comes to education, examples of these negathoughts are things like, well, I'm just not good at schoolwork, or I can't take tests, or I'm not right for college. And you see, when we hold negathoughts like that, if I say I'm not good at schoolwork, whenever I have work to do, I'm going to try to avoid it. A few weeks back, I was working with a group of Mary Kay cosmetic saleswomen, and we were talking about negathoughts and mindset, and I said, well, we have mindsets in all aspects of our life. For instance, some women hold the mindset that men can't be trusted. And I was going to go from there and say, if you hold that mindset, then you're going to be much more wary when dealing with a man. But I never got that point. When I said, men can't be trusted, one of the women looked up and said, so what's new? Now, I'd like to try a simple experiment with you graduates. By a show of hands, how many of you, at some point in your life, questioned whether you had the discipline and focus to succeed in college? How many of you would have questioned at some point in your past? How many, by a show of hands, know somebody else who at some time in your past did not believe you could do this? Okay. And finally, how many of you at some time in the past would have had a very difficult time picturing yourself being here today? So you see, the response is very typical of those who come to community, of those of us who come to community colleges, because we've had to deal with our own nega thoughts, with the hurdles we created by telling ourselves we couldn't do it, or by listening to others who say we couldn't do it. We've had to really deal and challenge ourselves on those things. The fact that you brought yourself to Schoolcraft, the fact that you're earning a degree are two big steps to a life of greater success. Now, there are some famous people. Well, first of all, I should say I've worked with a number of entrepreneurs over the years, and a surprising number of them went to community college. I've never met an entrepreneur who went to Harvard or Princeton or Yale, but I've met tons of them who went to community college. And some famous people went to community college. People like Ross Perot, Walt Disney, Gene Kirkpatrick, the former ambassador to the UN, all went to community college. Some famous actors went to community college. Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, Billy Crystal, and Tom Hanks all went there. They're people just like us who made it big, but they had to give themselves the permission to make it big. So, it's a freeing notion, it's a freeing idea when you realize that your self-image has been largely created by you. Now, other people might have through your life said some negative things that you took to heart and incorporated them in your self-image, but you've chosen to do so. You've chosen to do that. If you see limitations in your life, it's largely because you've chosen to see those limitations, and those limitations are largely illusory. The thoughts that dominate your mind have gotten you where you are today. That's a positive. They've also kept you where you are today. To the extent that the thoughts that are running through your mind are negative or focused on limitations, they're resulting in attitudes and behaviors that hold you back. But you have control over that. You have the control to change your future by changing your thoughts. You did that when you chose to come to Schoolcraft, and you did that when you chose to graduate. Today's a momentous occasion. Today might be possibly the most important day in your lives. Not because of me, but because of you and what you've accomplished. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the accomplishment you've achieved. In some cases, it was against all odds, but you beat those odds. And I want you to ask yourself, are there any other areas of my life where I'm holding on to thoughts or keeping myself limited and holding me back from what I want to be? If there are, then ask yourself why. What in the world will you ever gain by holding on to those thoughts? I'm going to leave you with one final challenge. When you walk out of here, at the end of this ceremony, walk out those doors, you have the potential to walk out into a world that's significantly different than the world that existed for you when you walked in. Instead of a world held back by incidents or voices from the past, you can choose to walk out into a new world with new possibilities, a world you create, a world of unlimited potential. It's your choice. The beginning of your future is today. I want to congratulate all of you on this achievement, and I cannot tell you how proud I am of all of you and how honored I am to have had a chance to talk to you today. Thank you.